Nicole Scott here from Mobile Geeks, and here we're looking at the trifecta of evolution. I fell in love with LG all over again when they launched the LG G2. The rear-facing button was a kind of a revelation for me, not because I'm left-handed, because I think that this rear-facing button is just a lot more ergonomic. If you are left-handed as well, it just sits perfectly. I just thought, what an intuitive way to use your smartphone. And this came with an absolutely knock-it-out-of-the-park camera. So it was only 13 megapixel, but boy was it sharp. I'm just taking pictures of white things here. Let me see a picture of that. I mean, for its time, that was just an amazing, always, okay. We've done a reset on this, here we go. I mean, like, check that out. That is still a very decent camera for 2 years ago. Yeah, that's noisy, but then they came out with the LG G3, and it was bigger. I wasn't as much of a fan of this. So this was a 5.2-inch display. It was 1080p, and then they came out with this 5.5-inch display that was just a lot bigger. When it came to using it with one hand, it just wasn't as easy. You couldn't reach to the other side as much. There's just a lot to love about the G2. But then the G3 came, and there was a lot to love about it as well. I mean, it came with a 5.5-inch display, 2560 by 1440 IPS panel, a Snapdragon 805, which was a natural evolution from what we had here on the 800. Now, the thing that I still get asked online a lot is people wanting to buy the G2. Right? I still get asked this all the time. So when it comes to the G2 to the G3, I mean, if you're a one-handed user, there are some definite reasons to still go for this smartphone. And then when you go to the G4, well, there's just some amazing reasons for this as well. Now I'm gonna take a picture of this same ball of yarn over there. Now let's take a look at what this has done. Okay, that's a terrible photo. Okay, now let's try that again. Maybe let's take the flash off. Okay, now let's try this again. Okay, so this actually still has the same level of noise that we saw here on the G2. God, the G2 was such a great camera. Look at that. So between these two, I'd actually say the G2 is sharper. Jesus, guys, what the hell's going on here? So let me take a picture with the G3, just to see. Let's just take a little quick.
I swap the batteries of the demo because the old one says
okay.
2.9, and I think it should be 3,000.
Okay, so now let me just take a quick.
Sorry.
Okay, that is slow. Wow. Okay, now the G3. Okay, now out of these 3 photos that I just took, what do you think, guys? Here's the G3. That ball of yarn looks pretty good. Very little noise. Here we have the G2, which I think looks just as sharp, even sharper, actually. And then we have the G4, which actually doesn't look that great. Is it just me? Or does that seem a little fuzzy to you? And the G2 actually seems the best. Wow, this is something that I'm going to want to check out during an extensive review, because I've always loved the G2 camera for so many reasons and thought that it was a little bit sharper on quick shoots than the G3. But this G4 camera is supposed to be like the best in the business, so I'm actually very confused about why we're not seeing just outstanding shots here. Okay, now we're going to carry on with this comparison. So 5.5-inch display, 2560 by 1440 IPS Quantum. So this is 2560 by 1440, also 5.5-inch, but just regular IPS. So this is actually 20% brighter with 25% more true to color abilities. Now over here we have 5.2-inch, 1080, but still a really great really great panel. Overall, very bright. So under the hood we have a Snapdragon 800, 2.5 gigahertz, 2 gigabytes of RAM. Snapdragon 805, 2.5 gigahertz, 3 gigabytes of RAM. Here we have a Snapdragon 808. This is a hexa-core at 1.8 gigahertz, 3 gigabytes of RAM. So they all have micro SD cards for storage. On the back here we have 13 megapixel shooter, 16. On the front 2, and this is up to 8. So that's the difference between the selfies on this. 3,000 milliampere battery, 3,000 milliampere battery, 3,000 milliampere battery. Now this is one of the reasons to actually love the LG G2 just a little bit. A 5.2-inch display with a 3,000 milliampere battery. There's a reason why this is a 2-day life battery beast, right? And the Snapdragon 800 isn't a slouch. If you're looking for like just an everyday usable phone, I mean, this is still an amazing device to consider picking up. And now with the amount that it's dropped, the G4's come out, I would still very much consider the G2 as a very viable handset for purchase. Now when it comes to weight, it's progressive, 143, 149, and 155. The same as Android, 4.2, 4.2, and 5.1. So now LG has of course changed the back of the device. Yeah, plastic, faux metal, polycarbonate, and faux leather, right? So just to talk about the back of this device just a little bit, what you're getting is just a lot more quality. These both feel quite cheap. This one, it's got 3 months of vegetable tanning. So this is the same process that's used in luxury bags. So LG has really pushing the boundaries on what they're doing with the form factors of devices. The curved display, the metal band around the edges. There's just really a lot to love about this phone. So just design-wise, aesthetic-wise, there's nothing like this on the market. And the leather just, it feels like I want to hug it and kiss it and make it my new phone. There's just so many things that I love about this device. The one thing that I do want to caution you about is that this is a very difficult process, and I do think that the early samples may yield some questionable quality when it comes to the leather, but I hope it doesn't. But like with anything new, we're probably going to see a couple of kickbacks, but overall I think LG is going to nail it on producing this very high quality back for their phones. And they come in a whole bunch of I'm primarily shooting the brown, but the black also looks really great. It kind of has this crackle finish that just is absolutely stunning. So between these devices, at a discount, I think you can't beat the LG G2. I would just give the LG G3 a miss completely, go for the G4. I was never a real fan of this. I thought that the battery life optimization still needed a lot of work. So there's a lot to love about this phone, but there was also a lot to love about not owning this phone and going for a handset where they've actually optimized everything that they've needed to or should have done on the G2. And I think that the LG G2, if you haven't seen my video about why I like it over the G3, you should go ahead and Google that one because I get really passionate about it. All right, so that was just a kind of quick and dirty comparison between the LG G2, G3, and G4, and some of my thoughts on why maybe you should be picking up the LG G2. Nicole Scott here from Mobile Geeks.